Picture this. It's mid-year. Vendors are in the field. Your coordinators are making calls. The interventions are running. Your team has been working your STARS measures since the start of the cycle. But take yourself back to the beginning of this measurement year, to the room where you sat down and built the strategy, where you looked at your HEDIS measures, your CAPS measures, your Part D measures, and decided which ones you were going to put your resources behind. You had a list, 5 measures, resources all mapped out, accountability assigned. And when someone asked you why you chose those 5, you had an answer ready. The vendors were already in place. The teams were already familiar with those particular measures. It made operational sense to build around what you had. Nobody pushed back. The plan looked solid. It felt like a strategy. Now, fast forward to today, mid-year. Your quality team is reporting out to executive leadership, and the numbers on those measures, the ones you built an entire program around, they're not where they need to be. Now, you have a conversation ahead of you that no one looks forward to. The projections, they're not looking good. Your targets need to come down, and you're the one who has to say it. Sitting across from the same CMO and CFO who approved that investment, having to explain why the results are not tracking. And then the CMO asks the question, the very question, didn't we invest X amount of money into this program? And now you are not reporting STARS performance, you are explaining a decision. Here's what I want you to understand about that moment. It was not a failure of effort. The team worked, the vendors were engaged, the outreach ran. It was a failure of sequencing. The prioritization decision was made before the most important question was answered. Not which measures can we work, which measures are most worth working. Those are 2 completely different questions. And in most health plans, the first one gets answered, and the second one never does, because answering it requires a framework, a financial framework, one that puts a dollar figure on each STARS measure and lets that number lead the decision. Not the vendor relationship, not the team's familiarity, not last year's playbook, the number. That is exactly what this briefing is about. Knowing what's at risk is the strategy, but deciding what to fight for, that is the discipline. In briefing 1, we answered one question together. Do you know what your opportunity is worth? We attached a dollar figure to every one of your Medicare Advantage Stars measures, not in the abstract, in actual QBP revenue. What closing each care gap is worth, and what leaving it open is costing your plan. That was the foundation. The proxy calculator inside Denominator Intelligence produces that number for every measure in real time, weighted the way that CMS weighs it. So if you have not seen briefing 1, go watch it. The link will be in the chat, because what I'm about to show you assumes that you have that financial picture in hand. Here is where briefing 2 picks up. You have the dollar figures. Every STAR measure has a number attached to it. Now you are sitting with 5 measures that all look critical, and the resources to go deep on, let's just say 3 of them. How do you decide which 3? That is a decision that does not have an easy answer. It is not just math. It is judgment. And without a framework, judgment gets replaced by whatever is loudest in the room. Now, I want to name three patterns I have seen play out across this industry. And I think when you hear them, you're going to recognize at least one of them. The first one is vendor led prioritization. The plan has, let's just say, an existing relationship. Maybe it's in year two of a multi year contract. Maybe the vendor is already embedded with the care management team. So the measures that the vendor touches rise to the top of the priority list, not because the financial exposure is highest there, but because the infrastructure is already in place. The second one is habit led prioritization. Whatever worked or felt like it worked last cycle becomes the default this cycle. Same measures, same vendors, same outreach strategy. And the thinking, well, we know how to do this, so let's do it again. But the challenge is that CMS stars cut points, they shift. Your population changes. What moved the needle 2 cycles ago may not move it in this one. The third one is the loudest voice in the room. Quality advocates for the HEDIS measures they understand best. And well, finance, they push back on the ones they feel most expensive. And care management is already deployed elsewhere. So the final priority list does not reflect financial logic. It reflects the outcome of a negotiation. None of these plans lack commitment. None of them had bad teams. They just did not have a framework that made the decision before the meeting started. Please hear me when I say this. Not everything deserves equal attention. The question is whether your prioritization process reflects that, or whether it just feels like it does. Here is a context that makes all of this more urgent. The base growth rate for Medicare Advantage has tightened. We are sitting at a 2.48% base rate. And at the same time, cost of care has continued to climb. That imbalance matters because it means the financial margin inside your plan is narrower than it has been in recent cycles. In a STARS context, the quality bonus payment is no longer a nice to have. For many health plans, it is the difference between growing and contracting. A plan at 4 stars earn a 5% bonus on their total revenue base. A plan at 3.5 stars, well, they earn nothing. On a $200 million revenue base, the gap is $10 million. That is not a line you absorb. It is a structural challenge, one that compounds when you carry it into the next cycle. And I will say this directly. The environment right now is not just financially compressed, it is uncertain. What is happening in the courts around CMS and STARS rating methodology, the questions being raised about which measures belong in the calculation, all of it adds pressure on top of an already tight margin environment. But here is what does not change. Your Medicare Advantage members are still in your denominator. Your care gaps are still open. And the QBP dollars attached to each measure are not just a planning metric. In this environment, they are your primary decision variable. The thing that has to lead every prioritization call you make. Not what your vendor covers, not what your team ran last year, what is most worth fighting for in dollars right now. This is the environment. Here is the framework. Before I show you the framework, I want to put one more number on the table. So CMS evaluated 516 Medicare Advantage contracts for the most recent star rating cycle, which is star year 2026. Of those, 200 contracts, roughly about 40%, I think it's like 40.1% to be exact, they hit a 4-star or better. That leaves 309 contracts that did not. And I want to be clear about something. Those 309 health plans were not standing still. They had vendors contracted, they had HEDIS outreach programs running, they had care management teams who worked all year long. Now, look at it from the member side. 64% of Medicare Advantage enrollees are currently in a 4-star or better plan. Kudos, right? But that means 36% are not. Now, on a market of more than 33 million people, that is close to 12 million members enrolled in a plan that did not earn the quality bonus this cycle, and whose care gaps are still open. The gap between the 207 plans that made it and the 309 that did not, it's not effort. It is not commitment. It is precision, knowing which stars measures to fight for, knowing which members in your denominator to focus on, and knowing whether what you are doing is actually closing gaps. This is exactly what separates the two groups. And that is what this platform was built to close. The prioritization matrix inside Denominator Intelligence is built around 3 decision variables. And the order of these variables matter. Most health plans, they get it backwards. The first variable is financial exposure. What is this star measure worth in QBP revenue? How far are you from the CMS cut point? And how many members do you need to move to cross that threshold? So this is the leading variable. It goes first, always. The second variable is population movability. Of the members currently in your denominator for this measure, how many can actually be reached? And how many have open gaps that have not been touched? Because financial exposure and actionability are not the same thing. A measure with a high QBP exposure in a population you cannot reach is a very different situation than, let's say, a measure with moderate exposure and 200 members who just need a follow-up call. The third variable is execution reality. Where are you in the measurement year? What does your vendor capacity look like right now? What can your care management team actually sustain? This is real input, and it belongs in the decision. But let me be clear, this is the third variable, never to be the first. The moment execution reality becomes your leading variable, you are back to vendor-led, resource-led prioritization. And we already know where that ends up. Financial exposure first, population movability second, execution reality third. That is a sequence, and it is built directly into this platform. Before I show you the platform, I want to make one distinction, because I think it is the most important thing I will say today. There is a difference between a prioritization decision that is convenient and one that is defensible. So convenient means you built your star strategy around what was already in place. And if someone asks you why you chose those measures, well, you can answer. But the answer is operational. It is not financial. Well, defensible, that looks different. When your CMO asks you why you chose those 3 measures, you can show them. The data is right there. The weight of each measure, the current star rating, the member gap to threshold, the QBP at risk, all there, ranked, sorted, and clear. The answer ends the conversation. It does not start one. And here's the other piece. Even if a measure does not hit the way you hope, if your decision was financially grounded and systematically built, you can walk back into that same room and explain the logic. You are not defending a guess. You are explaining a framework. That is the position this tool puts you in. Let me show you exactly how it works. This is the measure prioritization matrix inside Denominator Intelligence. What you're looking at is every active star measure your plan is carrying, ranked by QBP at risk. Highest financial exposure at the top. The platform does the ranking automatically, pulling directly from the work you completed in the STARS proxy calculator. So remember, briefing 1 feeds directly into this. The output is organized into 3 priority tiers. High priority, this is critical and action is required. So these are your highest exposed STARS measures. They're ranked by weight, current star rating, member gap to the threshold, and QBP at risk. The platform surfaces them first, no debate required. Medium priority, the next tier. So these measures still carry meaningful QBP exposure and may shift into your active focus depending on your resources and even where you are in the measurement year. Now, low priority, these measures are already at or near the CMS cut point target. They are protected. You are not pulling resources from your high exposure work to maintain something that is already performing. That's the beauty of this. This is the first decision the platform makes for you, and it is made entirely on financial logic, not instinct, not familiarity, not whose vendor is already contracted. The STARS measure with the most QBP dollars on the table rise to the top every time. Once the matrix has ranked your measures, you confirm which ones carry forward into tier 2 of the platform. The platform pre-selects based on financial ranking, but you can customize. You are in control. Maybe a vendor you have contracted covers a measure that ranked just below the top tier. You can still add it. The flexibility is built in. What you select here flows into every dashboard you are about to see. Let me show you what that looks like. Now, once you lock in your selections, the platform opens into the executive dashboard. Remember, we're still under tier 1 of the Denominator Intelligence platform. So I want to walk you through what lives inside this dashboard, because this is where the prioritization matrix becomes something your CMO and your CFO can actually look at together in one room. The first view organizes your STARS portfolio by domain: HEDIS clinical, pharmacy, CAPS, complaints, and access. It shows by domain how much QBP revenue is at risk and how many members you need to hit your target. So instead of staring at 30 individual measures, your leadership team can see immediately which clinical areas are carrying the most financial exposure. The second view shows QBP at risk by individual measure, your carry forward measures ranked by dollar exposure. It's clean, no noise, just a list you committed to and exactly what each one is worth. The third view is gap closure progress in real time. These are total members with open care gaps, closure rate by measure, revenue still at risk, and pay attention to this part. The platform breaks down exactly how many members you need to close each remaining quarter. Simple math that most health plans are not doing in real time. And without it, you reach the final quarter not knowing how far behind you actually are. And then there is the QBP risk summary. This is your executive snapshot. This is a visual gauge showing your current star rating against your target, the gap between them, and your total QBP revenue at risk expressed as a single dollar figure. Right there, no building a separate report. This is what you should be focused on right now, determined by the data and not by a meeting. The platform does the work. Your job is to execute against it. Now, let me take you back into that room. So you had the same executives, same table, same mid-year review, but this time, the quality leader walking in built her decision on the prioritization matrix. So the CMO asks, why did we prioritize these 3 measures? And the answer is not because our vendor was already set up for them. We're not going to say that anymore. The answer is GSD or A1C carries the highest QBP exposure of any measure in our carry forward group. And the largest member gap to threshold. Colorectal cancer screening follows, and CBP is third. Together, those 3 account for more than 75% of our total recoverable QBP across every measure we are actively working. The matrix ranked them by financial exposure, weight, current star rating, member gap, dollars at risk. All of it is visible. All of it is ranked. The data made the decision. We executed against it. That is a totally different answer than our vendor was already set up for them. And it is a different professional position entirely. Now, here's the piece I really want you to sit with. This is not a one-time exercise. The platform is built for recalibration. You focus your top 3 to 5 measures. You work them. You protect what you can protect. Recover what you can recover. Then you come back to the matrix. You see what has moved in your denominator, where the QBP exposure now has shifted. The next measures come into focus. Resources get reallocated. The decisions get made again with current data and not with last year's habits. STARS improvement is not a one-time event. It is a discipline, and discipline requires a system that keeps the decision grounded every single time you make it. So listen, precision, it is not a one-time effort. It is a posture, and this platform is how you hold it. Here is where we are. You now have the framework for making a financially grounded prioritization decision. The prioritization matrix surfaces the STARS measures most worth working. Your selection locked in. The executive dashboard tracks performance in real time. But here is what the matrix cannot tell you. It tells you which measures need the most attention, but it cannot tell you which members within those measures are actually movable. Because not every member in your Medicare Advantage denominator is the same. Some have tried to close their gaps and hit a barrier. Some have never been reached at all. Some are reachable today, and some will not be reachable until next quarter. And if your outreach strategy treats all of them the same way, you're going to spend a significant amount of time and resources chasing members who were never going to move, while the ones who would have closed with a single touch point go untouched. The next briefing goes inside the opportunity segmentation component of Denominator Intelligence. We show you exactly how to identify which members in your denominator are your highest probability closures, and how to build your outreach sequence around the intelligence instead of a generic call list. You cannot close every gap, but you can close the right ones first. So be sure to register for the next briefing, and I will be sure to drop the link in the chat, because what you learn today only produces results if you know which members to point it at. Before I hand it back to me live, I want to share with you 2 paths forward that you can enact on today. Both of them start with the same thing: seeing the prioritization matrix applied with actual plan data. So the platform offers a free trial that you can get into today. It takes less than 10 minutes to register. You will have full access to see and play around in Tier 1 of the platform, which covers the Stars proxy calculator and the Prioritization Matrix, what we just covered today. So I will be sure to drop the link in the chat for that pathway. Now, path 2, you can talk to me directly. So if you want to have a conversation first about your plan's specific situation, your current star rating, where the QB peak pressure is sitting for you right now, I am available for that. So you can fill out a form for a demo. I'll drop that link in the chat as well, and you can just fill it out and we'll schedule some time together. So these are not pressure paths. They are the right next steps if what you heard today makes sense. And if you are serious about operating with the kind of precision this environment demands. You have the framework. Now all you have to do is build the case.